Kia ora, good evening. The ongoing rain is causing problems on the region's roads, with high waterways and slips restricting travel in some areas. Taramoa West Plains Road is closed because of flooding. It's not likely to open tonight. The Ojai Clifton Highway between Twinlaw Road and Scotts Gap Feldwick Road intersections is closed because of a slip. A detour is in place. Walker Road, Woodlands between Waihopa Downs Road and Fleming Road is closed until further notice due to a collapsed culvert. Drivers are urged to take care on roads tonight because of snow and rain. Dwellings sold in July this year were down 13% on July a year ago, but median house prices are up over 8%. The Real Estate Institute of New Zealand say rising interest rates and the forthcoming election are probably influencing buyer behaviour. Sales volumes picked up a little in June, but are about in line with the normal seasonal pattern. Reports on effects of LVR restrictions indicate a lack of able buyers is filtering up the price points and on to vendor behaviour. Auckland and Canterbury accounted for more than 100% of the increase in the national median price over the past 12 months to July. A further indication the median price is being driven by these two regions alone. A report looking at the feasibility of online voting for local body elections has been welcomed by Associate Local Government Minister Peseta Sam Lotoinga.
In September 2013, Cabinet agreed to establish a working party to consider the feasibility of online voting in New Zealand's local elections. The working party met from December 2013 to May this year and has now reported back with its recommendations. Mr Lotoinga says the working party found online voting for local elections is feasible. The report said that online voting has the potential to enhance the operation of local democracy and offer New Zealanders a more feasible and convenient option to cast their vote. Over the next few months, the Department of Internal Affairs intends to engage with local government and central government agencies to analyse the report and formulate a response.
Cruise ships visiting Milford Sound are now subject to a maritime levy. Although there are no ports or customs facilities in the area, nor do passengers disembark. Environment Southland is the only council to have a cruise ship agreement in place with operators and has been charging a fee for ships to visit Fiordland since 2001. ES have raised concerns about the extra levy, saying it may put cruise ship operators off visiting southern New Zealand.
We're the only regional council that do it in the country. We have what we call a cruise ship agreement, and any cruise ship that comes into our waters has to sign up to that, and we levy them for that. So it enables us to carry out a lot of our RMA functions within that area. We've got the largest coastline in New Zealand, and it's mainly national parks, so there's no ratepayers there. We can also do a lot of the sort of the safety and environmental functions that we need to carry out. So that's what we use the marine fee for, and our concern is that we're hearing from the cruise ship industry that they're already finding New Zealand a really expensive place to visit, and another levy on them is a further disincentive for them not to come here, which means we get less from our levy. The charge that Maritime New Zealand is imposing is on a berthage, the number of berths on a boat, so it doesn't matter how many passengers there are on the boat, they've still got to pay the total amount of money.
Whereas Environment Southland, yours is a tonnage levy.
Yeah, it's on more a tonnage, and I think that's more a reflection of the potential impacts that a larger boat might have. So, it's been a really successful enterprise, the marine fee levy, and we have really good relationships with Cruise New Zealand. It benefits both of us, and it enables us, as I say, to do a lot of the things within that coastal marine area that normally we wouldn't be able to do, or we'd have to charge the ratepayer for it.
Do you think there's potential that this could happen in other parts of New Zealand?
I'm not too sure what's happening in other places. I mean, I can understand if you had the likes of the Port of Otago, which is an actual port, people are getting quantifiable benefits from that. Maritime New Zealand is probably supplying quite a lot in the way of aids to navigation and so on, but what they provide in the Fiordland area is very minimal, and we have a number of people coming us and asking for funds, and we fund things like the harbour master activities in Milford Sound, VHF radio. We've funded a weather station, which not only benefits local users and fishermen and so on, but that also benefits the cruise ship industry as well.
Any idea what the long-term effects might be on tourism with cruise ships into the southern waters in the South Island?
Well, it's a large industry, it's very competitive, and I think any further costs like this, they'll just probably choose not to come.
Stay with us after the break. Local vegans meet the candidates, and former broadcaster Maggie Barry is back in the south. Welcome back. Last evening, the Southland Institute of Technology held its inaugural certificates graduation ceremony at Stadium Southland. The certificate graduation ceremony is to celebrate successful program completion for graduates who have completed a certificate level qualification. Graduates were from a number of programs ranging from health sciences, hospitality, organic horticulture, hairdressing and animal care science to business administration, construction, electrical, engineering and plumbing. SIT CEO Penny Simmons says that last night's graduation was a pleasing way to celebrate the certificate graduates' success. Former broadcaster and Nationals MP for North Shore Maggie Barry was in the city today, lending her support to her party's southern candidates, as well as speaking to gardening enthusiasts. Hunter Andrews asked her about her transition from broadcaster to Member of Parliament in the 2011 general election.
Well, it was an interesting transition. I mean, I didn't make it easy on myself for standing initially for a seat called botany. So my old tribe in the media had a field day. It was basically along the lines of Gardener of the Nation seeks to tame parliamentary jungle. Will Maggie be a wilting violet?
Were you surprised?
No, I wasn't. I mean, not very many broadcasters make the transition readily, and I'm not quite sure why that is, but there are very few of us that go across into politics. Some people regard it as the dark side. So I had a bit of flack when I first started, and people said, get back to the garden where you belong and all this sort of nonsense. But I think they quickly recognised that I was not a wilting violet and I wasn't about to, take it lightly. So I got in with my own deadheading repartee, cutting out dead wood and diseased growth to rejuvenate the plant. So I had a bit of a field day at Labour and the Greens' expense as well. As I was saying to the good folk here today, I have seen more manure thrown around in the last 3 years in Parliament than I have in a lifetime of gardening. Manure and recycling, all of these things are perennials, and I've been having my fair share of puns at other people's expense and for humour. There's not that much humour in politics, so when you find it, you might as well milk it a bit. But I am a lifetime conservationist and environmentalist. And as we used to say on the Garden Show, saving the world and the planet does start in your own backyard. So I've always felt that it's important that people feel powerful enough and confident enough in their own little part of the world to try and do good things around conservation, and then they can extend that out to embracing policies that help save the planet.
Meanwhile, there was proof last night that every vote counts in the hotly contested election campaign in Invercargill when the Invercargill Vegan Society hosted a potluck dinner for all candidates, and all contributed.
Vegan Society spokesperson Jordan White is describing the Meet the Candidate meeting as a great success, with all 5 candidates for the Invercargill seat either there in person or in video. National Sarah Dowie spoke of her love of animals, cats in particular, and spoke of a cat rescue she performed as a young girl and that she thought once of becoming a vegetarian. Labour's Leslie Soper said she also considered vegetarianism and had worked in the past to help the outlook for working elephants in Sri Lanka. Democrats for Social Credit candidate Stephanie de Ruyter said she was partly vegetarian and did not use animal products or any tested on animals. Dave Kennedy of the Greens, a vegetarian for 3 decades, said he loved his pets but preferred animals to be in their natural environment. Rhea Bond, who could not be there, professed by video her love of cats, dogs and horses, and that losing a pet was like losing a member of the family. Mr White says that while there were just a few there to meet the candidates, the group's website receives between 50 to 80 visits a day, and a copy of the full meeting is available for viewing on their Facebook page. Hunter Andrews, South Today News.
6 Southland women recently travelled to a rural village in Uganda to build a classroom and playground, much to their building mentors' amusement. The village of around 200 residents has very little infrastructure, and it's day-to-day survival in a land where if you don't work, you don't eat. Invercargill woman Dale Wright was amongst those who visited the developing nation. She captured her visit in photos, which are now on display at a local art gallery.
There was a lot of sense of scepticism. What can 6 white women do to help our children? but it generated a lot of curiosity. And as they watched us working jolly hard, I might add you, we were hammering in nails, and every stroke was scrutinised for at least 10 men because they're curious to see these white women, and physically mixing concrete. In the early 30s, it was pretty intensive work. We slept very well those nights, and as they came, there was a lot of community interest, and then there was a lot of buy-in because as a result, there were 60 extra registrations for school.
So there wouldn't be much in the way of vehicles or anything like that to get kids that are in those surrounding areas to school?
No, they walk, and you see them early in the morning, from 6 o'clock on, walking to school along the main roads, and there's no footpaths. And so that was particularly the struggle with some of these parents in this little community, because their children often got bowled by trucks going past.
One of the incentives that you've come up with is providing food for breakfast for them to come to school.
Our incentive is just to provide just a bowl of porridge about midday, a bowl of porridge, maize porridge. It costs 15 cents a day to feed one child. $3 a month can feed that one child, and there is a lot of aid going into Uganda because the need is so huge, but it's going to take time for it to actually filter down for the person at the village level.
Dale took hundreds of photographs during her stay. Several have won awards, including the Kingfisher.
It's just a little humble kingfisher that was sitting on a branch as we floated around it on a boat when we were on safari. And I wondered, why is it just sitting there? But if you look closely, it seems like the fish is too big for the bird to swallow. And you know the story, Margot. You give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. Now that for me is the linchpin of this exhibition, because we have the audacity to believe we can do both. We want to feed their children for their day, but we also want to feed their minds for their lifetime.
The image of a young boy speaks volumes by his expression.
And there's a tentativeness about it, but just it's a sheer incredulous face that I particularly love.
Children are a strong feature in the exhibition, but there were disturbing activities Dale became aware of that couldn't be captured on film, especially relating to Uganda's prison system.
There are many children who were born, perhaps their mothers are in prison, or perhaps there's an unwed mother who doesn't want this child for some reason or another, and the children are just abandoned. They're just left, may even be thrown out in the rubbish. And that is heartbreaking. Uganda is full of kids. That's their greatest resource, I believe. And so part of this project is to provide a home for these children and to be able to provide a mum who will have several children and she will look after them. That will be their home for the rest of their lives. And to feed them, educate them, encourage them, nurture them, see them develop into people, mature adults that can actually contribute to the nature of Uganda.
And that exhibition is currently on display at Invercargill's Bank Art Gallery. And that's all from the news desk on this rather chilly Wednesday evening. Weather's up next, followed by sport from the news team. Good night.